Hi everyone, as you're definitely right now starting to put together your final marks for reporting, there's just a couple of things that I want to make sure that I remind you of. First of all, the professional judgment that you exercised in Term 2 is no longer present in the system. Those were cleared once Term 2 was finished, so that the new tasks and the new assignments would change the mark in the parent portal. Now what this does mean, however, in courses like science, for example, where topic A might be completed and you had an assessment done in the first term, if you apply professional judgment to topic A, that professional judgment is no longer entered. So if, for example, that you moved it from an acceptable to proficient, in Term 2, that would have reverted back to acceptable if the mark hasn't been changed or new assignments haven't been added. And so even in those situations, if you have applied professional judgment, you should go back and confirm, even on those screens where, or even in those topics that are done, that the mark that's coming across is correct. A quick way to do that, by the way, is just to pop into your input learner profile results and do your import. So for example, if I do that right now, I'll just go into my report period 3 learner profile results. I'll go into my English 1A, and I'll just push the import classroom results button. As you can see here, this pretend class, I haven't added much in the way of summative tasks for reading, speaking, listening, and viewing. But you see that I do end up populating the entire course or the entire report card with the currently available data. This is a great place to do an eyeball scan just to make sure that for example in science, if topic A, if you were scanning down and saw that something that you know should be a proficient was marked as acceptable, the professional judgment had been cleared, and thus it is different on the screen. Again, you can do that one of two places. You can override it on this screen prior to sending report card marks in, which will show up correctly on the report card, however not the parent portal. Or the better place to do that is that if you pop into your gradebook, in your gradebook, view by student, select your first student, and just pop into that category summary view. And this is the same place you would have exercised professional judgment in the first term. And those are just off to the side. And you'll see here I have started to exercise professional judgment, but in this case here, the acceptable, it's telling me there's dual modes, and so I can change that to proficient if I want to override that. And of course that overrides it both on the report card and in the parent portal. As with any change, do make sure that you go back up to the top and choose the Save button. Just so that change is committed. The next question that we've had a number of times is how do I choose whether or not a parent sees a task and whether or not that task is included in the final grade? You'll notice that on this screen, which is the planned classroom assignment screen, which I'm sure many of, or all of you are very familiar with, there's two things that I want you to pay attention to. One is this column here, which says on. The other is this column here that says type. If you have a task that you want to remove from the grade, but not remove from the parent portal, so a task that you want parents still to see that it actually happened, but you do want to remove it from the final grade. For example, some of your first period assessments. What you can do is simply change this S to an F to mark it from summative to formative. So this task, this ABC, was done at the very beginning of the course. It isn't really valid in terms of assessing where the student is at right now. And so I'm just going to go ahead and click on the drop down and just change it from summative to formative. And as always, press save. At this point, that task has now been removed from the calculation of the mode, which goes onto the final report card. But it does not remove it from the parent portal, so the parent can still see that it happened, see what the results were. But not have it count towards that grade. If you want it to disappear entirely, if you want to effectively delete a task, but not delete it from your own view so that you have the ability to go back and see what your assessments were, what you can do is actually uncheck this on box, which has the effect of making it seem as though it's deleted, so it's not available to parents, it's not available to the grade calculation. But what it does do is it leaves it there so that if you want to go in as a teacher to see what you assessed that at and see any comments you might have made towards a student, that it is still available there. And as always, I'm going to push save when I'm done so that that change is committed. Now, one important thing to understand with these kinds of changes that affect the parent portal is that those changes are delayed until that evening when the parent portal picks up the current set of information from Students Achieve. The parent portal is actually a separate piece of software. It's a separate machine. And so what happens when the parents log into that is that they see whatever the information is the last time that the synchronization occurred. A good way to think of this is if you've ever owned a non-wireless calendar, like the old Palm Pilots. The calendar wasn't live to your current calendar. You had to synchronize that once a day. Students Achieve is exactly the same way. So these changes, deleting that task or marking it formative, will not change for parents until later that day, usually around 5 or 6 in the evening. So if you do hear from parents that it is still there, don't panic. It's just there is a delay to making that happen. If you have any questions or would like to have something else included in these screencasts, please let me know, and I'd be happy to add them. And of course, this being this time of year, if I do have more questions, I'd be more than happy to record a second screencast this week. Till next time, we'll see you later.